Welcome to a look into the unknown. Today we're going to be looking at the Mothman. It's a creature, well, we don't even know if it is a creature, but it's shrouded in mystery and often connected to some pretty unsettling events.
The really fascinating thing about the Mothman is just how much it's stuck with us. You know, you see so many cryptids come and go, but this one's different. It's worked its way into our folklore and sparked so many debates and inspired, I don't even know how many works of fiction. It's really something.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing, the sightings, they're not just like in one place. We've got accounts from all over the world, like Point Pleasant, West Virginia, Cornwall, England. There's even some from Chernobyl, Ukraine. And those are just a few.
And it's always the same, this link with disaster. Like it's some kind of harbinger of doom, almost like a warning.
So, okay, let's go back to where it all really blew up, I guess you could say. Point Pleasant, West Virginia, back in 1966. Two couples near this abandoned TNT area. They said they ran into this thing, this creature. They described it as like really tall, glowing red eyes, huge wings, but like folded in against its body.
The eyes, that's what always gets me. They always describe them so specifically. Piercing, almost hypnotic, like headlights just cutting through the dark. It's eerie, you know?
And it gets worse. They said it followed them all the way to the Entertown. And then, get this, just a year later, the Silver Bridge collapsed. 46 people died. I mean, you can't help but wonder, was the Mothman? Was it a warning?
It's a chilling thought, and you know, it's been fueling those supernatural theories ever since. And it's not just the creature itself. John Keel, he's the researcher who really dug into the Point Pleasant sightings. Well, he said there was also a huge spike in UFO activity around the same time.
So, okay, we've got this strange creature, this horrible accident, and UFOs in the mix. No wonder people got hooked on the Mothman.
And the crazy part is that same pattern, that same connection with the unexplained, well, it pops up in other places too, like take Cornwall in England. Between 1976 and 78, tons of people reported seeing a similar creature. Some of them called it a giant hairy owl, but those red eyes are always there.
And again, with the UFOs, it's like the Mothman is drawn to these weird hotspots.
Exactly. And if you step back and look at all the sightings, there's a pattern that starts to emerge. Chernobyl before the disaster, Chihuahua, Mexico, just before the swine flu broke out, Santiago, Chile, 2013. All these places, they had Mothman sightings just before something awful happened.
It really makes you think if it was just a couple of isolated things, maybe you could brush it off. But with so many sightings, the descriptions are so similar and it keeps showing up before these major events. It really makes you want to dig deeper, doesn't it?
It really does. There's just too much there to ignore.
And that's what we're going to do. We're going to be looking at all the different explanations for this Mothman phenomenon. From, well, the skeptical ones to the really, really out there ones. But before we do that, I want to ask you, have you ever had one of those feelings? Like something bad was going to happen? Or maybe you've seen something you just couldn't explain. Something that just didn't make sense. We'll be right back.
That feeling you mentioned, that something bad is about to happen, that feeling of foreboding. Well, some people think that feeling, that's the Mothman, not a real creature, but more like a manifestation of all of our anxieties. Like we create it out of our fear.
So you're saying it's like a psychological thing, a symbol of our fears, but like a symbol that we can actually see.
Exactly. If you look at when a lot of these sightings happen, it makes you think. The 60s, you had the Cold War. Vietnam, all that social unrest, the late 70s, economic instability, all these periods when things felt really uncertain, really scary. Maybe that kind of environment, maybe it makes people more likely to see something like the Mothman.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. Like how our emotions, our fears, they can actually change what we see. But there are so many people who say they saw a real creature, something they could like touch, something solid. How do you explain that? If it's all in our heads, how can so many people see the same thing?
Our minds are powerful things, and honestly, they can be tricked, especially when we're stressed or scared. What one person might see as, I don't know, a giant monster, another person, they might just see a big owl, or even just a weird shadow. It all depends on how you interpret it.
So misidentification could be a factor.
Oh, definitely. Think about it. It's nighttime, it's dark, you can't see clearly, and you're already on edge. It wouldn't be that hard to mistake something normal for something scarier. And then once one person says they've seen the Mothman, everyone else starts looking for it. And that's when things can get really out of hand.
You talk about mass hysteria, right? When people convince each other that something is real, even if it's not.
Exactly. One person sees something strange, tells their friends, and those friends tell their friends, and all of a sudden, everyone's seeing the Mothman, even if it's just their imagination playing tricks on them.
That actually makes a lot of sense. But how do you explain all the other weird stuff that goes along with Mothman sightings? The UFOs, the strange lights, the weird sounds, all that. If it's just misidentification or mass hysteria, why does all that other look always seem to happen at the same time?
That's where things get really interesting. And that's where we have to start considering another possibility. Maybe the Mothman, maybe it really is a cryptid. Maybe it's something we just don't understand yet.
Wait, you're saying like a real monster?
Maybe not a monster, exactly, but maybe a creature that lives outside of, well, our normal understanding of biology. There are some researchers, John Keel was one of them, who think the Mothman could be interdimensional, like it can travel between different realities.
Okay, now that's just blowing my mind. And it kind of fits with all the UFO stuff too.
Right. If we think about it, if there are other realities out there, then the Mothman, maybe it's a being from one of those realities. And maybe it's drawn to our world during times when things are kind of, well, unstable, like when there's a lot of energy or chaos.
So maybe that's why it shows up before disasters. It's not causing them, it's just sensing them. Like it's drawn to that energy.
That's one theory. And that's the thing about the Mothman. It's this huge mystery. It doesn't fit neatly into any category. It makes us question everything we think we know about, well, about reality itself.
I'm not going to lie, it's a little overwhelming to think about all these possibilities. Misidentification, mass hysteria, our fears coming to life, a creature from another dimension. How are we supposed to figure out what's really going on?
Well, I think the most important thing is to just keep an open mind, look at all the evidence, listen to all the different theories, and honestly accept that there might not be one easy answer.
Yeah, that's a good point. The truth, it's probably a lot more complicated than we think.
Exactly. And that's what's so great about the Mothman. It makes us think outside the box, and it forces us to be okay with not knowing everything.
Okay, but let's be honest. The Mothman, it's not just about scientific mysteries and all that. I mean, this thing has become a pop culture icon. John Keel's book, The Mothman Prophecies, was huge. And then there's the movie with Richard Gere. It's a classic. The Mothman's become this symbol of everything mysterious and unexplained.
And it's not just books and movies. We see it in video games, on TV shows, even board games. You just see that image and you know exactly what it is. It's really become a part of our culture.
It's kind of funny, in a way. The more we try to explain it, the more mysterious it gets. And that just makes the legend even stronger.
Maybe that's the truth about the Mothman. It's a myth, it's a mystery, it's a story that's going to keep being told and debated for a long, long time.
I don't know about you, but I'm kind of hooked on this Mothman thing. It's just such a creepy story. And it makes you think about all those things we don't understand.
Right, and there are so many different ways to look at it. Some people, they just say it's a big owl, or people getting scared and seeing things. But then there are others, they think it's something totally new, something we've never seen before. Maybe even something from another world. It's crazy.
That's what I like about it, though, all the different theories. It makes you question everything, you know? Like, what do we really know about the world and what's out there that we haven't uncovered yet? It's exciting. A little bit scary, too.
Maybe the real question isn't whether the Mothman is real or not. Maybe it's about how we see the world and how we deal with things that we don't understand. And maybe, just maybe, it's about being okay with not knowing all the answers.
Yeah, that's a good point. We've gone through a lot today, and I still don't know what to believe. But I definitely feel like I've learned a lot. It makes you wonder, what else is out there? What other mysteries are still waiting to be uncovered?
That's what keeps things interesting, right? The search for answers, the need to understand. It's what drives us to explore and to push the boundaries of what we know.
So what do you think, after everything we've talked about, do you think the Mothman is real? Or is it just a figment of our imagination?
You know, I'm not sure it really matters what I think. What matters is that you keep asking questions, keep searching for answers, and keep your mind open to the possibilities, no matter how strange or unbelievable they might seem.
Well said. And hey, who knows, maybe one day we'll finally solve the mystery of the Mothman, but until then, it'll keep us guessing. And that's part of the hunt. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the unknown. If you like the video, share it, leave us a like, and subscribe to our channel, A Look into the Unknown. Until next time, keep exploring the mysteries that surround us.